What's going on, everyone? This is Luke and Glover with another edition of NASCAR Mailbox. Yes, I'm stepping in for this edition of the newest NASCAR Mailbox for Jared Haas, who is unfortunately away during this time. He had to step away for a few days. Hopefully, we'll be back soon. But until then, you are stuck with me, so I will do the best I can to answer your questions and trying to make the most of it. And so let's jump right into it. Obviously, we had in a way, a crazy filled weekend at Darlington Raceway between the NASCAR Xfinity Series and NASCAR Cup Series. Some mild points at times, other times not so mild. And we saw a lot of those elements of the character of the Southern 500 that we've grown accustomed to ever since it became the playoff opener for the NASCAR Cup Series. So a lot of action out there, a lot of mixed opinions if you look at social media based on some of the things that happened. But overall, a really fun weekend. If you were able to attend the races, then I'm envious of you because it was a fun one to watch on TV. But obviously, a lot of storylines exiting the Darlington weekend as we head into the second week of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Kansas Speedway. So let's jump right into it. If I butchered your name here, I apologize, but I'll give it my best shot. First comment here, Rod Meyer, 1435. The pit road light on Harvick was kind of harsh. He was already committed and in the pit road entry. No chance to return to the track. Great comment there. Really brings on a question of, what was Harvick within the bounds there? Obviously, we kind of have a cause and effect situation here. If you missed it in the final stage, we see Tyler Reddick in the lead. Harvick had caught him. Most of it may have been because of lap traffic. Ryan Newman was holding up Reddick. Reddick finally got around Newman. But as green flag pit stops began to cycle, we saw Harvick peel off the track. And Darlington, of course, has a unique pit road entry, very challenging, definitely part of the character of Darlington Raceway, the track too tough to tame. But overall, we saw Harvick pull off early, Tyler Reddick at the front of the field. And I'm not really sure, obviously there were a lot of questions about what was Reddick doing in the moment. Ultimately, yes, it looked like he was trying to peel off from turn three as they were going into four to make the pit road entry. It would have been tight. It wasn't the best. No disrespect to Reddick, but was it the best decision? Probably not. But overall, ultimately, it ended up producing another caution with Ryan Newman having to avoid Reddick's number 45 Toyota and causing Newman to spin. And it caught Harvick in a bad situation. He was just feet, yards away from the pit road commitment line and ended up going down pit road. And what we saw from there was absolute chaos that ended up causing the closer an opportunity to close out on what could have been his first win of the season, maybe the last win of his career, a swan song victory and the Southern 500 of all places. How special would that have been? Instead, he's left with a 19th place finish and now sits 2 points below the cut line. And so, looking back at the comment here, it was obviously, yes, he was committed on the pit road entry, no chance to return track. So, it is unfortunate the way it worked out for Harvick. I know a lot of people were upset with the call to penalize him and send him to the back of the field because he entered the pits while the pits were closed. Obviously, that light came on right before he got into the commitment line. Yes, that was unfortunate. It was unfortunate timing, and I can understand the frustration there. But if you look at Tyler here, a two-way mistake. Obviously, the first one, not necessarily a mistake per se, with Reddick making a late decision to possibly pit. Ultimately, ended up costing Harvick a lot. But the big mistake here was what Kevin Harvick did. As he's coming down pit road, Harvick had an option. I think this is something that kind of got buried. The NBC team did a great job explaining this. Harvick had an option to pit and get penalized, or he could have just kept going straight through the pits. If he would have went straight through, yes, he probably would have lost some spots, but he would have been still closer to the front, still had better track position than what he ultimately ended up getting handed to him because of the penalty. Unfortunately, he decided to pit. He came to a stall. He got service, and that is where the penalty occurred. So, yes, unfortunate situation for Harvick. No chance to return to the track. I understand that. Definitely a harsh penalty at first, but if you look at the whole context and everything, it was a little two roads there that ultimately ended up costing Harvick a shot at the victory. Our second comment comes from RCR Racing 5160, and this is a great comment here. It says, Carson Hocevar has been very shocking in both his Cup Series attempts. He made that 42 car look great this weekend when he filled in for Corey LaJoie, when Corey was filling in for Chase Elliott, obviously at Gateway. He had a great top 15 run going when the right front tire blew going in turn 3. He has 5 Xfinity starts this year where he has 6th place finish and 8th place finish, both at Charlotte and Darlington, and obviously some more there about what Hocevar could potentially do. Yes, I think, with all the drama and all the stories about the playoff drivers, as well as some of the non-playoff drivers like Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and then what happened between Bowman and Daniel Suarez there at the end, and Harrison Burton, and just overall kind of lost in all that was Carson Hocevar making his second Cup start with Legacy Motor Club, this time in the number 42. And what a great job he did. If you watched the whole weekend, he had really good speed. Think about it. Yes, we've had Noah Gregson in that car. We've had Mike Rockenfeller. We've had Josh Berry. Okay, that car has struggled no matter who the driver was, really. And Hocevar jumped in it and made it a top 15 car. Really good speed all weekend. Seemed to have a grasp for it. He said the biggest thing that hurt him was honestly the green flag pit stop cycles. He felt like he lost a few spots in between those every time. That's just part of a rookie learning. But overall, great job by Carson Hocevar. He ultimately, what we ended up seeing was some really good laps in practice, a top 15 qualifying run, which is really good for just your second start at one of the toughest tracks on the schedule. And then ultimately staying on the lead lap all night, keeping himself clean, staying out of trouble, staying out of the playoff guys' way. Obviously, that's kind of a big story when you get out there in a playoff race when you're making just your second Cup start. But we've seen 2 starts from Hocevar now, as I mentioned in that comment, the Spire Motorsports start when he was driving the number 7 at Gateway, and then the 42. 2 cars. 7's had some good runs this year. The 42 not so much, below 30th in both drivers and owner standings now without a full-time driver. But Hocevar did a great job in that car. Found some speed in it that we really have not seen from basically a lame duck car as they head into 2024. Obviously, we now know that Hocevar won't be in that ride next year as they switch to Toyota and bring John Hunter Nemechek on. But it was definitely a great audition for a driver who has a lot of rumors swirling around him. Hocevar also said this past weekend that he knew what he was doing next year, but he didn't know if it was necessarily Cup. Could put in a few options. Obviously, colleague racing is one where there's a lot of questions around. Could he go to the 31? Could he go to an Xfinity ride and maybe work in some Cup dates there? The Junior Motorsports ride, every free agent seems to be linked to that. If you're in a lower series or trying to go back to the lower series, could he go there? Possibly. The biggest ride that he's been linked to has been the Spire Motorsports number 77, which Ty Dillon, we're hearing, could be vacating that after this season. It's possible. Could he go there? Absolutely. But definitely a few options there for Hocevar. We're not exactly sure yet, but he definitely proved that he deserves a shot, and at least in NASCAR Xfinity Series. But we definitely need to be talking about the NASCAR Cup Series. So great comments this week. Obviously, we saw a fun race, and we're now moving into the second race of NASCAR Cup Series playoffs as we head to Kansas Speedway. So make sure to like and subscribe here. Thank you so much for your support and all your following. And we hope to provide great racing content this week at Kansas Speedway. So thank you. Enjoy the race weekend and have fun.
This is Daniel Hemrick, driver of number 11 Colleague Ricks Chevrolet. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also check out one of those 2 videos beside me. Visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.